Marvin Devine. I'm saying bye to all the lies and all the times you cried, saying that I wasn't right, yet I was right by your side. You manipulator, playing games, your friends commentators, and I don't know what you say about our private conversations, but it's got them hating. Thanks to all the rumors you be claiming. It's cool, I'm done with you, so they can throw you a celebration. You gon' hate it when you see me with somebody living better. I'm trying to tell you that me just doing me gon' have you jealous.
Hello folks, it's Sunday and time once again for another in those continuing interviews of South Africans who've relocated to the United States under President Trump's generous refugee program. Today my guest is my champion up there in Cleveland who set up our meet and greet when I went to Cleveland. And some folks are doing very well in Cleveland, some others are struggling. And I would say it comes down really to a couple of factors. The first one being, of course, the attitude of the refugees themselves and their own capabilities. And the second comes down to their case officers and their attitude towards refugees. You can have a great family with great intentions and a terrible case officer and bad outcomes. You can have a great case officer with an arrogant, opinionated, bigoted family, and you have bad outcomes. You need good on both sides. Wimpie's here to talk to us a little bit about the experiences in Cleveland. As somebody from Ohio, I rather shamefully used to call Cleveland the mistake by the lake. That's what you people used to call it. But I've been to Cleveland a few times now, and it's not as bad as all that. It's actually a decent town. And in fact, it's so good that Jared relocated from Erie to Cleveland recently. So with that in mind, let's welcome my guest, Wimpie Koen.
Hi, Colonel. No. We're doing good. We're doing good this side. And yes, it's not a mistake by the lake anymore.
Well, Wimpie, back in 1970 or thereabouts, the river, the Cuyahoga River, actually caught on fire. There was so much pollutant, so many oil-based lubricants and fuel that was spilled into the lake that actually caught on fire.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but today people actually fish out of that river and eat the fish. I wouldn't be one of them, but
No, me neither.
That's like fishing at the Val Dam. I wouldn't be eating any of those fish anymore downriver.
No.
All right, Wimpie, welcome to the program. You asked to come on. Is this a standard refugee interview, or did you want to talk about what's going on in Cleveland?
A standard refugee interview, and just want to get under the people's attention, what's going on in Cleveland, how nice the people are and supportive, the Americans especially. We have great support. The Soweto volunteers, great support. So not everyone needs to go to Texas or North Carolina or stuff like that. Cleveland is really one of the places to be as well.
Well, that's pretty cool. I mean, I have to admit that I've not heard that phrase very often, Cleveland's the place to be. I mean, the closest I ever came to that was a sitcom that had Betty White in it, Hot in Cleveland, when they were supposed to be flying to New York and they had to land because of weather in Cleveland, and they turned into a sitcom. But all right, let's go to the standard refugee interview then. Let me ask you the following questions. First off, when did you first hear about the program, and what process did you do? Did you a PRM email, a statement of interest, intake questionnaire? Tell us how you first heard about the program and how you got into it.
We actually heard first about the program via your channel. The live started to pop up on YouTube. So we did the PRM email and it was dead silent, and we followed the 59ers and we did the intake questionnaire and via the Amerikaners as well, mid-September. And our whole process started at the end of October. The 7th of November we were done, and the 28th of January we flew out to Cleveland.
So still we're talking about 9 months or thereabouts that this took place, right?
Yes.
All right, so it's not an overnight process.
No, not at all. You have to have patience, but I feel bad for people who applied the same time as us and they are still waiting.
Well, that's a fair point. I appreciate that. But there's people who put the PRM email in, they're still waiting. And some of them just arriving now, 15 months later.
Yes. And I feel bad for those people.
Well, here's the thing, it's this program. I'm not sure. Let me ask you this, because I don't really ask this question of those who've come over, Wimpie. Let me ask you this question. So a lot of South Africans seem to think that this is an immigration program. And even if they accept that it's a refugee program, they still look at it as an immigration program and look at it as if they're just applying for a visa to come to America and they should get a response in 30, 60, or 90 days, which is what you would expect on a visa. But it's not that at all. Despite my efforts over the past 16 months to inform people that this is a refugee program and that normally a refugee is a person who flees to a third country, and normally it takes 18 to 24 months, best case, for somebody to even come to the United States. Despite that, we still have people moaning and complaining and having what I consider to be unrealistic expectations. Any idea why that is? Is it being sold as a immigration program? Are people being told in South Africa that here, just sign up for this and you're leaving? Because Wimpie, before you answer that question, last year, one of my viewers, their family, they got their interview after the 100 went up to Pretoria. But before they went to Pretoria from the Western Cape, they sold all their belongings. They got rid of their cars. They got rid of their house. They went up to Pretoria, did the interview, rented a place to stay, and were there for a few weeks. Then they wrote to me and said, we're running out of money. I said, what do you mean? Well, we're in Pretoria. I said, what are you doing in Pretoria? Didn't you have your interview 2 weeks ago? Yeah, but we're waiting to leave. Who gave you that idea? I mean, do you have any idea where people are getting this perception at?
I have no idea, and I'm going to put it straightforward. It's stupid on their behalf. It's like you told us from the beginning. When you go for an interview, it's not set in stone that you are going to leave within 2 weeks. You should have patience. The moment you have the tickets in hand, that's when you start selling your belongings and making arrangements to come over the side. You don't sell anything if you receive first contact to even go to Cape Town or Pretoria. You don't sell anything. You don't do anything. You wait for the tickets.
So, Wimpie, what was that like for you? That I'm getting that feedback in. What was that like for you? The wait, was it tense? Was it frustrating? Or we've only talked to one or two people who said, you know what, I put it in, I went about my life, and when they contact me, I was pleasantly surprised. That would be the ideal for everybody, but I realize that that's much easier to say than it is to experience. What was the experience like for you? Was it nerve-wracking?
The last wait after we completed everything, that was the worst, to wait for the flight tickets. But we argued the same. If they contact us, if they let us know something, it's cool, but we don't have anything else to do except for wait. It's a waiting game.
Well, Hendrik de Lang says that I don't think it's about we know that it will take months. I think it's more about we want to leave yesterday. Well, I agree with you, Hendrik, but you don't have any right or privilege to leave yesterday. I don't mean to be callous or uncaring, because I'm not. People know me and know I'm not callous or uncaring, but I'm just trying to put it in blunt terms for you. You have no right to be here, and they have a responsibility to protect our citizens by not bringing people with active tuberculosis, not bringing people who are pedos or criminals, and not bringing people who are a threat to society. The first mission of USCIS is not to enable refugees or asylum seekers or to let people in the country. It's, in fact, to protect American citizens. And somewhere along the way, the do-gooders and leftists lost sight of that. And I think it's an unrealistic expectation for people to think anything other than that. But no, I'm not trying, so I'm going to make sure that I'm not, that's not directed at him. But the point is that whether people want to leave yesterday or today really isn't germane. The real issue here is, are you actually being persecuted? There are people who will try to lie and have tried to lie and have therefore disqualified themselves for this program by lying about their circumstances. If you have not been a victim of past persecution and you don't have legitimate fear of future persecution, which I think Johan Rupert would fall into that category, you're not going to get refugee status. And some people are trying to cheat the system, and that also caused issues. So I appreciate that people want to leave yesterday, but again, it's not an immigration program. It is something much more complex.
Yes, I totally agree. We didn't have past persecution. We only went on the basis of fear of future persecution.
So you had not been persecuted in the past. You didn't have any instance of that, but you were able to articulate a legitimate,
yes,
genuine fear of future persecution. Well, that's fascinating. I'm going to guess you probably talked about the 145 race-based laws and Julius Malema's threats to people.
Yes, that's exactly what we used. And the BEE laws, unfortunately, we use that as well. There's no transformation, and yes, that's the only thing we used.
That's interesting. So Pizza Party says, I don't understand why people would lie. Let me explain to you why people would lie. Pizza Party, it's the nature of some people. They lie in everything they say and do. It's just their nature. Embellishment is one thing. Exaggeration is another. Those things are acceptable, but not when you're doing something like this. It's okay to talk about, well, the fish was this big. It was this big the next time you talk about it. That's embellishment. That's okay. We get that. Those are acceptable little white lies in society. But some people, everything they do is a lie. They mislead people, and we see it all the time. And that's just the way it is. Why do people swindle people? Because some people are just psychopaths. Why did that guy, find him over, come to my meet and greet in Centurion to take a selfie with me, to use it against me when he got called out because he lied to people and took their money and defrauded them? Why did he do that? Because he's a psychopath. He has no conscience whatsoever. People who habitually lie have no conscience whatsoever. It's how they get through life. They're like the people who say, I need a little bit of money for this, but they're actually going to go use it for something else. And they mislead you, and they give you a sad story because they're psychopaths. Look, and I'm sorry, there are psychopaths inside the Afrikaner and the South African community, and people who want to come here. Look at Mel and Pete. Look at the sad story, Wimpie, that Mel's telling now about how, well, the machine did it. I'm sorry. Of the 50,000 customers who used those self-checkouts over the 6 months that you stole $5,300 in goods, you're the only customer where the machine habitually read the wrong code? Spare me. Look, so Wimpie, when you went through the process, did you encounter anybody like that? You don't have to say who they were, but did you encounter anybody that gave you the vibe that they're just, they're perpetual liars?
No. Actually, the people that we met, it was a pleasant group, and some of them had genuine concerns, and some of them are still in South Africa. So that's why people don't lie when you go for the USCIS interviews. It delays the whole process.
Well, in fact, it not only delays it, it jeopardizes your opportunity to come over. I've said this from the outset. I've said it from the very, very beginning. Do not lie. Do not lie by an act of commission or an act of omission. If you were arrested in 1997 for grand theft and you don't report that because you say it was expunged, that is an omission. That's a lie. As an adjudicator, as an investigator, someone who did these investigations in the past, I will tell you that if I'm across that, you now are to me a liar. Someone doesn't forget being arrested for grand larceny, yet people do forget that when they go to USCIS. And they think that the Americans are rubes. Wimpie, I don't know about your experience. You're not that old, but a lot of these people who are in their 50s and 60s, they go to these interviews and they're just gobsmacked at how much information the U.S. government knows about them in such a short period of time. The people we hire to investigations are pretty good, and very few dishonest people get through. But I think a lot of people take us for rubes, and that's their downfall.
Yes, and usually when USCIS asks you something specific, it means that they already know the answer, and they're just testing you to see if you are truthful or not. Well,
it's funny you should mention that, Wimpie, because I've said that before. I've said that what happens is that as an investigator, I'll ask an interviewee a question. 9 times out of 10, I know the answer. I'm not looking for an answer. I'm testing whether you're an honest person or not. There are some questions around the edge that I don't have answers on, or I need a more fuller explanation because maybe someone made an allegation that's false, and I need you to, answer it so I can refute it. But I don't think people realize this. They think, I'll just go apply and tell them whatever I want, and I'm coming. It doesn't work that way, and people are being called out doing that.
Yes, that's the truth. We had a case, you actually reported on it, that USCIS asked the person 3 times and they didn't confirm or answer truthfully. After the 3rd time, USCIS told them, thank you for coming, and they got kicked out of the program.
Yeah, exactly. That's what happens. It's just the reality of it. Okay, let's talk about your case more in particular here. Whereabouts in the country where do you guys come from?
We were in the Northern Cape in a small town called Posmasburg. It's a big mining town. We have Kolomela and Kumani's close by and Seribeng, so that's where we came from.
So did you... I'm going to have to... I think what happens is when I talk, I think you're using a laptop and it just, the sound comes out and it has to automatically adjust. So I'll probably do it like a little psst every time I talk before I start talking because there's a pause. So for you, did you have to go to Joburg, Pretoria, or Cape Town to do your interviews and medicals?
We had to go to Pretoria, and it was actually quite interesting because the moment RSC saw that we are from the Northern Cape, they thought we were closer to the Western Cape. So they scheduled us for our USCIS interview in Cape Town. And they expected us to drive from Pretoria again to go to Cape Town for USCIS. So it was a mess, complete mess.
Yeah, so it goes It goes back to the point that I made previously about the folks that work for RSC are geographically ignorant. They don't understand the geography of South Africa, and that leads to all kinds of headaches for people. So you did those things. When you went through the process, because I used to ask this question of people, I haven't asked it much anymore because it's pretty obvious to those who are honest that we know what's happening, but the media is still lying about it being a white program. Were there any coloreds or Indians or black folks that when you went through the process that you came across who were also applying for it?
Yes, there were quite a few.
Of what?
Colored people, and we saw, I think, 3 couple of Indian couples as well.
All right, so there you go. That just dispels the lie once again. That's completely, I mean, I just excoriated another rich, wealthy, privileged, elite South African who sits in the Washington, D.C. suburbs, living a plush life in safety, having the audacity to try to speak for 13 million people whose experience she's never had, and claiming that white people are privileged in South Africa when she sits in the one of the wealthiest cities in the world and pontificates from on high. And, you know, all she has is a master's degree. I got 3 of them, like she's something special. But anyway, no, the point here is these people lie because they have their bigotry. They're unable to open their eyes. So, Wimpie, obviously your concerns were very serious, but what were you concerned about in the future? Were you concerned about having kids and them not having opportunity? Were you concerned you wouldn't be able to get advancement in your job, or could you not get a job because of what's going on? What was your, I mean, without going into any deep detail, I mean, if you could just, you know, tell us what you were worried about in the future, because if I read News 24, IOL, the Daily Maverick, I listen to Cyril Ramaphosa, the bankers who are trying to hoodwink people into investing in South Africa. I mean, everything's good. It's, you know, it's just a bump in the road. It's nothing serious. You know, if it wasn't for apartheid, you know, this place would be wonderful. So, I mean, you know, according to the commentators, South Africa's a wonderful place to be. So what's your problem, dude?
Advancement in career was a big problem. I got refused for a few job applications based on skin color, and I was worried about my 2 children. I have one that's aged 5, and the other one is aged 7, and I had a fear for their future as well, because if it's going like this now in South Africa, in 10, 11 years' time, how would they secure employment or go to universities, because you get declined at universities as well because you are not previously disadvantaged.
Well, that's one of the worst misnomers ever spoken, the term previously disadvantaged. The fact that someone's previously disadvantaged doesn't entitle someone to unfair advantage today. And in fact, the vast majority of so-called previously disadvantaged people no longer exist. They've passed from this earth. Only a small minority of South Africans existed under apartheid, and even smaller minorities suffered under apartheid. To persistently use this racist narrative to harm other people is no different than the federal policies here in America, which created affirmative action, which actively discriminated against the majority population to help a minority population illegitimately. And all it led to was poor outcomes for minorities and for majority, and led to a decline in this nation. When you give someone artificial advantage over someone else, you don't uplift anyone. What you need to do is ensure equality of opportunity. If everyone has the same opportunity to succeed, then we have a chance. But what you're saying is that you didn't see a future where you had an equality of opportunity.
Yes, that's basically true. And it's like, to explain, at my previous employment, I wasn't even noticed for the supervisor position. And my supervisor at my previous workplace wasn't a qualified mechanic at all. And he was supposed to tell me what to do. But if I asked him for basic tools like ring squeezers and stuff like that, he didn't even know what it is, but he was my supervisor.
But he was your supervisor because he was black.
Yes.
Okay, well, see, there you go. There's an example of stupidity. That's racism in action right there. If he's a qualified guy and he's got better skills than you, he's a better choice, and he happens to be black, then he happens to be black. But if he's there because he's black, then this is why the country is falling apart. And when 80% of the country is black, and you confer this favor in every managerial position, every supervisor position, every decision-making position. You wind up with military who drop their rifles and run away in Lesotho, who can't stop a rebel group and are embarrassed in the Congo and Rwanda. You wind up with submarines that don't float, that don't submerge. Well, they do submerge one time. You wind up with ships that don't float. You wind up with police that don't respond. And you wind up with the chaos that we see in South Africa today. All right, let's turn our attention to coming over. So you came over in January, I think you said. When you came over, were you greeted at the airport by your case officer or representative of the agency?
Yes, we landed in Newark and IOM met us there, and they helped us through all the channels and getting our luggage ready for the next flight. We had a delay. We landed in Newark at 5 o'clock in the morning, and we sat there until 3 o'clock. I think we called you that day because we didn't know if our caseworkers knew that our flight was delayed and we are only going to land at 4. But when we landed at 4, our case officers were already waiting for us in Cleveland.
So they greeted you.
Yes.
Once they greeted you, did they take you to temporary accommodation? If so, was it habitable? And then when did you wind up in your permanent accommodation? And is that habitable? Are you having any challenge with that? It looks okay from a distance in the background there, but tell us a little bit about that experience.
Yes, we were placed in temporary accommodation because the agencies this side had a few issues of people coming to Cleveland, and when they land, they say they want to out-migrate to Texas or some other state, and then they would already have paid for a permanent housing and they would lose the funds. So the guest house, we didn't have any issues there, and the accommodation now, it's okay. There's a few issues, and the landlord is being a real piece of work. They don't attend anything, but it's just a small sacrifice. We will get permanent or another place in the future when the lease is over.
So what I want to say now is that from my perspective, if you've explained it to me and I understand it, and this is going to hurt some feelings. So if you have soft feelings, you should understand that my sense of humor may hurt your damn feelings, but righteousness. So this is for the soft children in the chat. You might want to close your ears or leave right now. But I'm going to say this, Wimpie, and I want you, and if you don't agree with it, let me know. From my perspective, some very selfish destination shoppers came to Cleveland and created a mess for the other refugees who arrived there because they screwed the refugee agencies by being demanding and putting them in a bind where they already set up residences, and now these people are stuck with rent they've got to pay for unoccupied places without refugees. That would be my take on what happened. Is that a fair assessment?
That's exactly what happened. Our caseworker told us that because we asked him about why do we have to stay in the guest house for 3-4 weeks, and he explained to us that's exactly what happened. Families would come here, they would have already set up the permanent housing, a place for them to stay and everything, and then the refugees would be like, nope, we're going to Texas.
So we know there are certain content creators out there who have actively encouraged people to out-migrate and relocate, and then they lie about it and make videos and claim that they never did it, but we know they did it. We've got people who attest to it. In almost every case, it's a bad decision. There are a few exceptions where it's gone well, but in every case, what these people do is create a problem for everyone else. Now, there are exceptions to this where people really are in a bad situation because their agency isn't responding, but that's different than showing up in a place and going, I want to live in Texas, I want to live in Florida, and just creating a mess. Or what we've had happen in Maryland. If someone gets to Maryland, they're there for 2 days and they don't get their way, they're like children and they toss their toys out of the pram, and then they move to Pennsylvania and create all kinds of problems for people up here. You know, it's very selfish of these people to not get there, get settled, get all the things in place. My argument has always been arrive, get your Social Security number, get your EAD, get your government grant entitlements, get yourself underway, if possible, even, go get a job and get a car before you consider out migrating, because you don't know where you're going. You don't understand. And it's, for me, Wimpie, not to turn this into a session about this, but I find it very arrogant, very self-centered, very selfish of most people to take that step. And again, of course, I'm saying this, and some people go, but you helped Jared leave Erie. Well, if you follow the story of Jared, you know that Jared was being abused by the refugee agency in Erie, and that I didn't encourage him to leave. I just found options for him if he wanted to choose it, and he chose an option which turns out the best one. By the way, I don't know if you've been in touch with Jared, but he's in Cleveland. He's got a job now. He's doing very well.
No, actually, we're not in touch, but it's like I said, Cleveland is picking up now. There's a lot of job opportunities. We landed the 29th of January. The 3rd of February, I already had a job offer and secured employment.
That's pretty quick. So speaking of Jared, his host Alex is in the chat. You met Alex at Cleveland. He was there. He's the American who I didn't realize was an American until I met him in Cleveland. But Alex has been with the channel for a long time. He said, now, this is some good advice. I was going to get to there, but I'm glad Alex laid it out because I don't know the current law in Ohio. I haven't lived in Ohio since 1989, even though I was a resident until 2019. He says, Wimpie, pay the rent to the clerk of courts, and they will release money when repairs are complete if your landlord is not doing his job. Your rent will not be late as you paid it to the court. You should look into that. Check into that. Okay. Because this you have rights as a renter. Landlords have obligation responsibilities. Many of them get away with neglecting maintenance on places because because renters don't know their rights. Every state has different rights. Some have a code of conduct or they have law specifically tied to this. So that's good advice. If Alex sends me a private note, I'll send it to you. And if he wants to be in touch with you, maybe he can give you the advice because you're both up there in Cleveland. But Alex is one of our one of our heroes. He's out there doing some good stuff, and that's where Jared's staying with Alex. So let's get back to your story. You got a job offer right away. So have you been working since February?
Yes, I've been working since February, and I actually earn a good salary, and I already started the sideline business as well with my boss. He's very supportive. So things are really doing good.
Okay, so let me get this straight. Okay, so you landed in February, you got a job, now you start a business, you're making good money, and I haven't seen a single super chat. Don't you know this is all about taking money from refugees? You're not helping support the lies being told about me. If you're going to help support the lies being told about me that I'm exploiting refugees, you need to start sending me some massive super chats. I'm just saying.
Okay, I'll definitely keep that in mind.
I'll keep that in mind. He's not going to do it. He's going to keep that in mind. Okay, seriously though. But it's anyway. So Wimpie, how have you found the Americans so far? You did mention how people are kind, but up there in Cleveland, Ohio is kind of a microcosm of America. Whatever's in America, except for like the Grand Canyon. We have beaches. They're on the lake. They're not the same as the ocean, but we have mountains in the southeast corner of the state. We have a majority white population, overwhelmingly Christian, deep Christian values. We have heavy industry, aviation, banking, insurance, agriculture out the wazoo. Ohio has everything. Steel mills. How are you finding the people up there in Cleveland?
They are really supportive. The only thing is when we're in shops and we talk Afrikaans or stuff like that, you can see that they pay attention and they look at you. I can't really say strange, but they don't know the language. But we haven't met anyone that was rude or discriminated against us or stuff like that. We even, when in the beginning when I had to drive Uber to work and back every day, my Uber drivers were questioning me about South Africa, and they are really interested in what's going on.
So your Uber drivers, are they white Americans? Are they immigrants? Who are they?
There were a few whites, there were a few immigrants, and there were a few blacks as well.
So but everybody was interested in what's going on in South Africa, apparently.
Yes.
Well, that's fascinating. So let me ask this question: how are the kids doing? Are they adapting? Are they thriving? Are they withdrawn? What's it like for them, this experience going to America?
The kids are adapting pretty good. My youngest one, she just wants to go to school real bad, but luckily she's due in August. The oldest one, she's adapting. The spelling is just a little bit of a headache, but she's getting there.
So I think what you're referring to probably is how you guys in South Africa misspell everything in English like the English do. Colored is not spelled Colored unless you speak French. In English, it's Color. So you're unlearning the English and you're learning proper American English. Is that what's going on?
I wouldn't say proper American English, but we can call it that for the channel purposes.
We will call it that. Oh, my goodness. So your kids are young. They're right at the stage where they should have Afrikaans cemented in their heads. But in order for them to keep that, they're going to have, the oldest is going to have the accent most likely. The young one, might couple years difference, might lose that accent. But in order for them to retain that cultural heritage, you're going to have to speak it around the house so they keep it in their heads.
Yes, at the moment I step into the front door, it's Afrikaans only because my brain is exhausted after talking English the whole day.
Well, I get that. I mean, my brain gets exhausted after speaking Afrikaans for 2 or 3 minutes. Anyway, so, all right, so the kids are doing okay. What about the process? I mean, when this thing started last year, boy, the belly aching and moaning, first off was, oh, I don't have a passport, I need money. And I don't mean to be insensitive, but boy, people just went on and on about that. We gave them potential solutions, and they still wanted to whine about it. Then it was like, well, I'm not getting the jab. Well, like, then you're not coming over. We have a responsibility to ensure that Americans are safe. What was that like for you guys? Did you already have your passports? Did you have to run out and get them? Did you have to have a hard time with home affairs? Because I imagine for the young ones, the 5 and 7, you probably didn't have passports already, maybe not even for yourselves. And when you went for the medicals, who was the worst when it came to getting jabs? Was it you or the kids?
Okay, but that fell through the mat. So we had passports for all of us, the 2 kids and the 2 adults. The worst person to get the jabs was probably my 7-year-old. That was a big fight.
All right, so your 7-year-old had a hard time there with the jabs.
Yes, very bad time.
All right, let me ask this question because this has come up. I just made a video about this. There are a number of people who've come to America and they're being lied to by physicians and their medical screening when they come this side. They're being told they have to get the immunizations again. I've cautioned people that when you get jabbed in South Africa, make sure that they give you a World Health Organization sheet, which they're supposed to have, or at least something signed by a doctor that you were given this immunization or a nurse, because they're telling people they have to get the jabs all over. And these doctors are saying if you don't get it, they'll make sure you don't get a green card. Number one, that's illegal. That's a threat, even under most states' laws. And under federal law, that's medical discrimination, and it's also factually incorrect. Were you pressured at all when you did medicals on this side to get the immunizations again, or no?
We went to a neighborhood family practice where we did our medicals, and we were advised that we need some additional vaccines for the green card application, but we took them. I had to get 3 shots, and both of my children also had to get an additional 3 shots.
But we're not talking about the COVID jab. We're talking about things like maybe tetanus or measles, mumps, rubella, things like that.
Yes, only that COVID vaccine is a big no for me.
Well, it's also not required in America, yet doctors are lying to refugees, telling them, some doctors, that they have to get it. And the reason I'm saying this is happening is that I know that they're making money off this. Every refugee they jab, every jab they overcharge for a immunization to the U.S. taxpayer.
Yes, it was about $700 per person.
Exactly, and that's why some of them are pushing it. So that's the ones you needed. And if they push the ones you don't need, you've already have, that's not good, particularly for young kids. I'm not one of these clowns that talks about autism being caused by vaccines, but getting repeated jabs and something like the South African government forced me to do. They forced me to get a yellow fever vaccination by refusing to accept my medical certificate from a doctor showing that I've been vaccinated. And I had to pay $130 at OR Tambo to enter the country. Stupid stuff. But anyway, yeah. All right, so work. What's going on there? It sounds like it's going well for you. You're working well with your employer. Are you working in your chosen career field, or are you working at Wendy's?
I'm working in my chosen career field. I'm a mechanic at Pro Automotive in North Olmsted. It's about 9.8 miles from where I currently stay. I drive to work every day. And it's going really good to people. They are curious about our culture. They want to try biltong and chili bites and stuff like that. So it's really, and my boss is very supportive. I told him I want to set me up for the future. Is there something I can do? And it's like, let's buy and sell cars.
Well, that sounds like an interesting idea. So Olmsted, I mean, at least when I was younger, your age, Olmsted was a nice area. Is it still a nice area?
Yes, it's still a nice area. The police presence there is spot on. If there's any trouble, you can press on their button and they will immediately respond. We are actually friends of some police, some of the people in the police in North Olmsted, because we do a lot of work for them.
So apparently we're having some issues with the stream. Let me just take a look here. Look, it's on my end, and apparently my service provider is not doing the job. Give me a second here, Vip. I'm going to test the internet and see what's going on.
Okay.
Okay, well, my download is a gigabyte, so that's not the problem. Here it's the upload. Okay, now, see, when I do this, it usually informs them to quit choking my channel. So 30 megabytes, so it shouldn't be a problem going forward, because anecdotally, I know that whenever I do an internet speed test, suddenly I don't have problems most of the time anymore. So it's saying 32 megabytes. That shouldn't be a problem. Hopefully that was just a glitch, folks. Apologize for that. We're back now with the full stream. So anyway, let's continue on. And it looks like I'm a little bit behind in the broadcast. Now I'm caught up my studio. So, all right, apologies. It's not on your end. It was on my end, and I don't know why. We don't need that. It happens on Sundays a lot. I'm not sure why. I think they're probably doing servicing on the node somewhere. Anyway, my node is actually about 50 kilometers from where I sit. That's where all my data routes through. So, and it's not like I can go knock on the door and say, "Hey, wake up." Anyway, let's get back to the conversation here. So, your time here, you've been here for a few months now. Wait a second, you're driving to work. Does that mean you have a car?
Yes, my boss actually gave me a Lincoln because he said I shouldn't struggle with Uber anymore driving back and forth to work. And so he gave me a 2016 Lincoln to drive with 110,000 miles on. And it's in my name, it's insured, it's mine. And my wife also got an Audi A4. So she's also settled.
Wait a second. Wait a second. You guys are refugees. You came over with nothing. My car is a 2015. It's older than your car. I had to pay for it. It has 126,000 miles on it, more miles than your car. And you've got a Lincoln. I've got a Chrysler. Looks like things are going okay at the moment.
Yes, the Lincoln actually, just to put more salt in your wounds, is full spec, touchscreen, heated seats, cold seats, heated steering wheel, navigation, everything, full package.
Are you serious? Hang on a second. Just a second. How do I become a refugee here in Pennsylvania? Okay. It says you are screwed. No, it says it looks like your keyboard might have slipped. Are you testing out my responses with random characters? Yes, I was. Oh my goodness. Well, congratulations on that. That's good to hear. So that's amazing. It sounds like you have a very good relationship with your employer, which I'm guessing is much better than the one you had in South Africa.
Yes, that's correct. And we actually go to his house. We had a few barbecues there. We had a big bonfire that we made the one evening with police officers as well. And he even taught my two kids how to shoot.
Okay. All right. Well, I had firearms around the age of 10, but not 7. So that's interesting.
It was actually my 4-year-old who came up with the idea that she also wants to shoot out the window.
Okay. Bucky, are you listening to this, man? Are you listening to this? Anyway.
I'll send you the video.
Please do. Okay, so look, Wimpie, you come at a very interesting time. You've arrived in 2026, and there's some irony in this, and hopefully it's something that sticks with you and maybe for your kids. This is the 250th anniversary of our Declaration of Independence from that old nemesis of the Afrikaner in particular. That would be the English. We broke away from Great Britain in 1776, winning our independence outright in 1783, but our declaration was this year, 250 years ago, on the 4th of July, just days away now, less than a month. A massive celebration. You find yourself here. And in the beginning of that, the preamble of the Declaration is we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Chief among them are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Do you feel as if you're in the right place at the right time and you're going to have a chance to pursue your happiness?
Yes, I feel so. And I actually bought a T-shirt. I don't know if you can see it. It says South African Roots, and now a proud patriot patriot of America.
There's actually a good question here from Denise, if I recall correctly. Denise is in Columbus. I'm trying to remember, but there's a good question here because Ohio is, in my view, screwed refugees over royally with its change in its law about how to procure a driver's license. How are you able to procure a driver's license? Because now apparently you must do X number of hours, including night driving with an instructor, and it costs hundreds of dollars. And the average person is going to have to spend $700 and wait a few months before they can get a driver's license. Were you able to get around that before it happened, or were you able to get support from your employer? How did you do that? Because people in Ohio, while Ohio is a great place to be, this is a very unfair thing being imposed upon them.
Yes, so luckily I was fortunate enough. I didn't know it when I applied for the job. My employer owns the pro driving school in Cleveland, Ohio. He has a lot of locations, and they assisted me with doing my 8 hours driving school and the 50 hours affidavit and stuff like that. I didn't have to pay for anything. And his brother Eli is the owner of Pro Driving School, and he's actually assisting a lot of refugees overcoming this obstacle.
That's pretty awesome. I'm sorry, just there's some problem with the stream here, and it looks to be some sort of YouTube thing because I thought maybe my channel got canceled or something, but it didn't. So I'm not sure if people
overcoming the
I'm not sure if people heard what you just said. That's pretty awesome. I'm sorry, just there's some problem with the stream. Okay.
Should I repeat?
Yeah, please do. Say that again. What happened? How you got your license?
Okay. I applied for the job at Pro Automotive, and I wasn't aware that they also own the driving school, professional driving school, and they assisted me with everything. And the owner of professional driving school, Eli, he's really supportive of the refugees, and he's assisting them getting their 8 hours driving school. And I actually gifted him a Chevy Cruze on Friday to thank him for assisting all the South Africans.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. Hang on a second. I've got my echo now because where am I getting an echo from? Oh, it's on your end. Oh, this one's having a little headache with this stream today. Sorry about that, folks. Apologize for it. Just a moment ago, it said it was getting too much data, 5 megabytes per second. Now it's telling me not enough is going through. Very strange. I think it's YouTube, not necessarily my internet provider. So anyway, apologies for the confusion in the stream, but we're back with it now, and hopefully it'll continue. So that's pretty awesome to hear because a lot of folks in South Africa, or from South Africa, in Ohio, are having a tough time getting that stuff sorted out. Now, Wimpie, in Ohio, you became my champion up there in Cleveland to set up that meet and greet. Is that because you're kind of the go-to guy, or just by happenstance that you did that?
I won't say that I'm a go-to guy, but if anyone in Cleveland needs assistance, they can reach out, and especially they can reach out to Zane as well. He's a Soweto volunteer, really amazing guy, and he goes the extra mile to help the refugees that land in Cleveland.
As I recall, I actually met Zane at the meet and greet.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, he's done a really brilliant job. That's a group that's been disparaged by, again, some nasty content creators who have penis envy and are just angry if no one shines light on their pathetic efforts to interfere with the program, while others are out there helping people. And that group, which is informally known as Antoinette's group, even though it's much broader than Antoinette, they've done some amazing things for South Africans. And what people don't realize is that that's their time and money out of their pockets. They're helping people with food baskets and arranging things. They don't get paid for that, and there's no fundraiser for that. That's all South Africans helping South Africans, and I think that's a group that's underappreciated and ought to be shown a little bit of love by a lot of people out there.
Yes, I totally agree. They really go above and beyond for the refugees coming to Cleveland.
Well, not just in Cleveland, Wimpie, but they're doing it all over the country. They do it in Georgia. They do it in New York. They do it. I've met them now. Someone from their group in Cleveland. I met someone from their group, I think, in Buffalo as well as in Maryland. They've just been amazing people to meet, and it's wonderful to see that South Africans are willing to help other South Africans when you get over it, because whether you come to another country as an immigrant, as a temporary worker, as an asylum seeker, as a refugee, getting resettled in a new country that's not your home is not the easiest thing to do. What are some of the challenges you've faced, Wimpie, arriving over here, other than, the fact that, you came as a refugee, which meant you probably didn't have millions of dollars in your bank account. Aside from that, what are some of the challenges? I mean, you're finally learning how to drive on the correct side of the road. You're also learning how to speak English properly. Beyond that, what were the challenges?
The main challenges was getting our social security and the EIDs, but we met a family, Jock Geldenhuis, I don't know if he's watching, and he did some investigating and he saw that that we actually can book our own social security appointments when we have our I-94s. So we started to tell all the refugees coming this side, just help yourself, book your social security, go for it, get it as soon as possible, and get your life going. So paperwork was mainly the biggest issue this side.
Well, that's actually something I've told people about from the outset, is that they need to be proactive. You can't wait for your case officer. If your case officer has a valid plan, you should go for it. The only thing that I caution people on, I know, and it's because the law says you can apply for Social Security number the moment you arrive. And It also says that the USCIS policy is 30 days to get your EAD, but we know that that isn't always executed well. So the thing is that this administration advises that even though you can come apply for it when you arrive, you should wait 10 business days, because the automation system of immigration that the port you arrive in, it doesn't necessarily get in and get taken care of, because apparently there's an action that USCIS must take in the States that checks a block and says you're now approved, because when you arrive it says awaiting approval, and then they have to approve it. So you just have to be 10 days. But beyond that, if your case officer hasn't, if I'm a refugee, this is my approach, Wimpie. I'm arriving. I'm going to meet with my case officer the next day, which is what Andres does here in Harrisburg. And my first question is, have you got a Social Security appointment for me? And they say no. I said, why not? I need to get that number. I don't want to be dependent. And if they haven't got it scheduled within 2 weeks or within the first 3 weeks, then take action on your own. That's my view.
Yes.
If you can. But of course, that's easier said than done, because maybe you're sitting in a hotel somewhere and you don't have transport. But you've got to be proactive, because the grant money does not last. It is very short term. If you're a single person, it goes very quickly. Ask for Roska, she knows what I'm talking about. But it's important for people to get their feet on the ground and hit the ground running, because it's a refugee program. It's not a welfare program.
Yes, I agree. We also waited a few days and we gave them enough time and we followed up. And when nothing happened, we decided to do things on our own.
And it sounds like you figured it out. And now one thing that people need to know is, and I've said this, Wimpie, so I'm not sure how you did it. It sounded like you did it of your own accord without having heard what I said, even though you watched the program. And that is that I've told people that do a Google search for Social Security Administration offices in your area. They'll show up on the map. Look for one that's close to you. Then click on that office and look to see what their hours are. Look to see whether they take walk-in appointments, or they only do over the phone, or they only do it by appointment. And then just follow the rules for the ones closest to you. And if you don't get satisfaction there, go to the next one. And if you're treated poorly as Social Security Administration, they have a mechanism to complain. That's not going to get your number right away, but it will at least get somebody in trouble for not doing their job. What do you think?
Yes, that's exactly what we did. And what we can advise people, if you are going alone, they usually accept walk-ins. But if you go as a family with 4+ people, you should make an appointment online and schedule your appointments.
Smart move. That's very smart. So Mr. P says, I don't know if he's short for Mr. Price, whose stock just went through the roof because they're good sales. He says, I don't blame Ohio with driving license. Some South Africans drive like maniacs because they know they could get away with it if they had some 200 Rand bribes on them. These bad habits need to be broken. Well, yes, Mr. P, South Africans have a lot of bad habits, including bribing police officials. I know that. Not every South African does, but some do. But that doesn't obviate the fact that what they've done for people who seek to get a commercial driver's license or seek to get a job, they have ensured that they stay in poverty, because which comes first, the chicken or the egg? Do you have the $800 to go get the training? No. So how are you supposed to get the training? Well, I want a job. Well, you need a job. In order to have a job, you have to have transport. Well, some people live in places where there's no public transport to get where they're going. For instance, Veroshka's been offered a job she starts, and where she's currently at, there's no bus service. She'd have to walk a half an hour to get to a bus that's unreliable to take her. And then, it's only a 30-minute drive, but by the time the bus gets to where she's going, it's an hour and a half later. And that doesn't get where she's going. She has to walk 3 kilometers from where the bus stops to get to her office. Veroshka's a nice lady, but she's not 22. That's a very unrealistic expectation. If she were in Ohio and had the same circumstances, how would she ever get a driver's license? You know, what the state of Ohio should have done is either made an exception or they should have provided this training for free and funded it, because they're the ones that want to insure it. So, I mean, look, I'm not into the government paying for things or giving grants, but in this case, it makes a lot more sense. Anyway, that's my thoughts on it. So, Wimpie, what about your wife? People saw the photograph. There's a photograph of us on the thumbnail. You wanted to use that photograph. I don't usually allow myself to be in the image when we have a refugee on the program for an interview, but you wanted me on there, and that's fine. That was from my meet and greet in Cleveland. How's your wife doing? Is she adjusting well? Is it a challenge for her? Because I know she's off camera. I don't know if I think it's because she's shy.
Yes, she's actually off camera because they took the children, or she took the children to the park close by so that I can have some peace and quiet inside the house. She's adapting. She went through a little bit of an emotional roller coaster because she didn't have the stuff this side that we had back in South Africa. Like in the beginning, she couldn't get into a car and drive somewhere, and little nitty gritty stuff inside the kitchen, which I bought. So she's doing better now.
That's good to hear that she's doing better now. People are wondering why I keep pausing when I talk. It's because of feedback from his laptop, so I have to do that so that it adjusts. Otherwise, you hear it's like the ghost from the crypt coming up there. Well, it's good to hear she's adapting, but and also I'm glad you clarified things that were missing, like for instance transportation. I thought you were going to say that you're missing things like Weet-Bix and and that was the problem.
No, the only thing we miss is proper mayonnaise. No offense, but you guys don't know how to make mayonnaise.
Well, first off, Americans invented mayonnaise, and the mayonnaise is Hellmann's. If you're not buying Hellmann's, you're not getting mayonnaise. You're probably buying salad dressing.
Let's just agree to disagree.
All right. Okay. I'll let that one pass.
Okay. Thank you.
I will say that we don't have proper Coke. We abandoned making proper Coke a long time ago for Coke made with high fructose corn syrup, but we can still get proper Coke for an outrageous price from Mexico at a Costco.
Yes, I saw that, but I'm adapting to the Coke this side with the high corn syrup or whatever it's inside, but I'm adapting.
I'm not. I have to mix that with a Weizen in order to make it drinkable. Leslie said Hellmann's is the best. You are correct, Leslie. Leslie, you get a thumbs up from me. Wimpie's in the doghouse right now. So anyway.
I'm going by Cross and Blackwell.
Okay, but the real issue is those are minor things. They're things you miss home. So in German we say Heimweh. I think in Afrikaans it's Heimweh or something, or very close to that. Are you experiencing that? Or is there any? I don't imagine the kids would have, because they're at age where it shouldn't be a problem. But are you or your wife experiencing any homesickness?
Me, not really. I don't know about her, but I'm not experiencing any homesickness. I think it's because I started to work real quick, and it's like my work-life balance immediately went exactly the same as back home in South Africa, and we're independent, so it helps.
So we've got people in the chat telling us that mayonnaise was invented in Majorca. Others saying it was invented in France. I say it was invented in America. We have the best. That's the end of the discussion. Frankly, actually, I don't eat mayonnaise. I can't stand it. I think it's disgusting. The only exceptions to that is that I can eat mayonnaise in tuna fish. That's it. That's the only time I eat mayonnaise.
Or potato salad.
I don't eat potato salad. It's disgusting and gross.
We need to make you some when you come to Cleveland again.
No, you're wasting your time. I won't eat it. I won't eat it. People always try to feed me that stuff. I won't eat it. I won't eat American potato salad. I won't eat German potato salad, and I just don't eat potatoes. I find it, ugh. It's just, I'm looking at it. I can't do it. I can't get beyond it.
You don't know what you miss.
Well, I've gotten this far in life without it, so I think I'll survive. But anyway. Okay, so what are you looking forward to now? You talked about building a business with your employer and selling cars. A couple people already said, hey, they want to buy a car from you. That's pretty interesting. I mean, what plans do you have? Obviously, you get kids in school. The youngest, I guess, is going to start school in the fall. I think you said. And then what's the plans? Are you looking at the American dream, buying a house someday? Do you think Cleveland's going to be where you're staying for now?
Yes, I have that dream. Actually, I want to buy a house as soon as possible, and we're actually looking at expanding, buying another location, and to open up a new workshop. So we are going to need more mechanics soon. So if any mechanics come to Cleveland, they know where to find me. We are going to need you guys. We actually looked at a workshop about 2 weeks ago where we wanted to put in 7 lifts. So we are going to need about 4 or 5 mechanics in the future.
Wow, that's interesting. So let's see if I got this correct. Karen Janssen van Rensburg says Colonel het gepraat. So I think she's basically saying the colonel has spoken. So that's the end of the discussion there. And then Heidi says, Colonel, you're fussy, just like my youngsters. Yes, I am fussy eater. And if you don't know that, you're not watching the program. I've told people that all along. I'm a very picky eater. Look, when I was a kid, I refused to eat tomatoes. I thought they were disgusting. But I would eat fried green tomatoes. And as an adult, I love tomatoes. I eat them. I will not eat onions. That is never going to happen. It's a disgusting, evil weed, and I will not touch it. So you're not going to get me to eat that, and I won't be eating potato salad. I'm sorry, that's just how it is. Anyway, and I won't eat lamb. Although I have to confess that when I was a judge at the Poiki at King's Dominion, I did have to eat oxtail, which is where the poo comes out. Oxtail, and I had to also had to eat lamb. And I have to say that the oxtail was brilliant, even though that's not. But I'm not going to pick up that habit. I'm just saying.
You should maybe start.
I think that ship has sailed. It's a bit late in life for me to be to changing that now. All right, so Wimpie, that's good news that you've got some great plans. You've got, but what I'm going to offer a little bit of advice here is that put money aside if you can afford to do it. Save for that deposit, that down payment on a house, but don't be in a rush because the interest rates are too high right now. When they come back down 2 or 3 more percent, get back to around 4 or 4.5%, then it'll be affordable. Right now, you'll be paying, 3/4 of the money will be going to the interest on a loan, and houses aren't cheap. So just, hopefully that'll come down in the next year. This Iran conflict will be over, and we'll get a little more stability, and then the interest rates will come back down. But I would hold off. Do I eat catfish? Oh, I love catfish. Catfish is quite tasty. Quite tasty. Oh, look, I got support here. Ivroshka saying, disgusting evil weed, onion, oxtail, my food. Anyway, all right. So let me ask this question: what about the brass tacks of things, finances? Did you? How quickly did you get a bank account? Did you get one without a Social Security number, or did you wait till you had a Social Security number? And did you find free banking? And did you get yourself a credit card?
We had to wait for our Social Security numbers to get a bank account and proof of address as well, where we are staying. And I actually have a credit card as well. I applied for one, a Capital One credit card. And my employer, my manager advised it. And he said to use it and settle it every week so that we can start building credit for when the interest rates comes down, so that we can buy a house eventually.
Sounds like you've sorted it all. You've all got it figured out. What are the? I mean, without revealing anything personal, because I don't know anything personal, but what are the outstanding things that you really need to address relating to your transfer over here? I mean, do you have things back home you've got to sort out, or there are things on this side that still need to be addressed? Because the next milestone for you, it sounds like, will be applying for your green card in January of next year.
Yes. So applying for the green card is definitely our next step. Outstanding things back home, really just trying to convince some people to also come over, because South Africa is really going to shut. Excuse the language.
No, it's okay. It's describing things as you see them, and then I think it's a fair assessment for many people in South Africa, black, white, and brown. South Africa is going to crap because of the evil people that run the country. It's a shame. So it sounds like things have gone pretty well for you. Was there anything in this process, we've talked about what was frustrating, the wait, especially after you've gone through all the steps. Was there anything in the process that was that disappointed you in any way? I mean, some people not you, but some people come over and think that, well, someone's going to give me a nice house to live in. I get to live there until I find a job, and they're going to get me a car, which is unrealistic. But is there anything that has been a disappointment? Because I'm sure there could be disappointments. I mean, not everything is a rose path. You know, there are thorns along the way. Anything that was frustrating beyond the wait that maybe you felt a little let down about?
The only frustration that we had was when we got dropped off in our permanent accommodation, that we got dropped off without any curtains, and we had to buy curtains that evening just to close up the house and stuff like that. And the other disappointment is basically when I see the treatment some refugees get this side, but I think it's like we discussed, it's an attitude thing. If you're appreciative and respect them, you will get the same treatment. It's like a two-way street.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. But let me just, I've said this before, but let me make this clear, very clear to South Africans. In America, when you move into a house or you buy a house, a new construction house, there are no curtains. There are no blinds. Yes. That is the owner's responsibility. And the reason they do that is because people wind up ripping them out and putting their own things in. So over time, it's been done that way. And that can be a big expense. If I recall correctly, I put blinds in all my windows, but there are a lot of frickin' windows in this house. And some of them are, plus I got the sliding door that goes out to the back porch. I think I spent over $5,000 for my blinds when I moved into my new house, which is outrageous. So that dipped into my savings. When you rent a place, normally they will have blinds, but they're not going to have curtains. If they don't have blinds, they don't have curtains, and you're going to have to get curtains. And that's something new for South Africans. But look, every country has its own unique things. In Germany, it's a similar situation. You expect certain things to be in an apartment. You go there, it isn't there. You're like, wait a second. You know, when I was in America and I was younger and I was renting places, I could always find apartment complexes that came with furniture. And then a lot of people tell me they can't find places with furniture now, which is odd to me because that was the norm back then. I guess maybe it's changed in America. 30 years later, we don't necessarily have a lot of apartments that come with furniture. And I would guess it's probably because people abuse the furniture and it wears out over time and it costs the landlord simply too much money to replace it. But, you know, things are different, and that's one thing you have to expect. So if you come and there's no curtains, just be prepared for that. You know, worst case, get a couple sheets and hang them over the rod until you get something done. So, but yes, that's a norm here. That's not an exception. Yes. Curtains not being in the place.
Yes, and we didn't receive bedding, so we had to rush to Walmart that evening to buy some blankets and comforters and stuff like that just to sleep. So there it was very cold.
Now that's one thing where I am going to criticize your agency and your agent. When you arrive at your, especially given that you were in a temporary accommodation for like a month or in a hotel, that should have been taken care of. They should have either gotten new sheets and blankets and comforters, which are donated, which some people do to these agencies. You know, I've been to the Lending Closet in Las Vegas, and I see in their closet linen in the package, donated, not open, never used, and it's there for when refugees arrive. And since they had a month before you moved in your place, you should have had bed linen, you should have had comforters, you should have had food in the refrigerator, you should have had toilet paper, paper towels, the American equivalent of JIC. You should have had all that in your apartment the moment you arrived. And it sounds like that wasn't done.
No, that wasn't done, but luckily the Soweto volunteers, they assisted us through that hard time. They immediately came to our house, they took us to Walmart, and they helped us to get that basic stuff that we needed.
And that's amazing that they did that, but that shouldn't be something that falls on them. That's what the refugee case officers are there for. They're supposed, that's part of what they do. The refugee who went to Tampa earlier this year, and she arrived, and then she was in a permanent housing like a day or two later, and she walked in, she shows me photographs of all the stuff in the kitchen, brand new utensils, you know, the bed linen brand new, the shower curtains. But that's another thing, shower curtains. You know, you have to get shower curtains normally when you move to an apartment because they become moldy and infected, you know, and so you have to replace it. It's like, you have to think of shower curtains like your underwear. They need to be replaced. You don't share your shower curtain. It's like you wouldn't share your underwear with someone. At least I hope you don't.
No, we actually had to buy new ones of those. There was nothing, no shower curtains, no rails, no nothing. So we actually bought a new set as well.
Is Wellington's chili sauce available? Sure, at about $8 a bottle from specialty shops that import South African stuff. If you got to have that stuff, then you're living a high life. Just buy what's available and get accustomed. You think that in the 16 countries I moved to, I could get the foods and things that I liked? You got to learn to be adaptable here. You're not in South Africa. Anyway.
We just buy our steak and chop spice on Amazon.
There you go. There you go. All right, so I think we've covered most of the stuff, Wimpie. I want to thank you for offering to come on the program and also for being my champion there, helping set up that meet and greet, which was epic. We had over 50, about 80 people show up for that, didn't we?
Yes, it was really nice. I'm glad that I was able to arrange something like that, and Zane as well for renting a van and driving, I think, 3 trips to get all of the people there. It was really much appreciated.
Well, and in fact, that's something that's I think some of us take for granted. People watch my program and see the meet and greets and hear about it. I don't take it for granted, but I do realize that it is a challenge for people to get to these events sometimes. In this case, they had to shuttle people there on multiple trips, and I'm very grateful for that. I've also seen, like, when we had the big meet and greet in Dallas back in February that was postponed from January because of the ice storm, we had about 50 refugees show up there and about 30 other people. And, of course, the haters are like, oh, nobody's there. Well, they're full of it. They weren't there. And so a lot of refugees couldn't get there because it was a full 45-minute drive from where they're staying in the complexes. So in that case, I was able to have my stay a little bit longer. And I went and got a hotel within a kilometer of where they're all staying. And then I went and visited the refugees, 2 big groups after that, and then I went and did some individual visits after that. So, because I do appreciate that not everybody has resources. Plus, people just arrived. You might have people arrived 2 days ago or a week ago, and they're still in a hotel or they don't have transport. So I really do appreciate all the people who help bring everybody to these events. It really is important, and I'm very grateful for the support and for everyone showing up. So if I could ask you, any comments about my visit? Did anybody have anything to say? Were they disappointed? Were they angry? Did they not get what they were looking for? It looked to me like everybody had a good time.
Yes, everyone had a good time. No complaints. They were talking about it for at least a week. After the meet and greet, they were still saying how lovely it was. And we really enjoyed it, just getting out and hanging out and meeting the other people. I actually met people there that I didn't even know was in Cleveland.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons that we also do this is because it brings people together and they find out there's actually a larger community around them than they realize. I've seen that everywhere I've gone, with, the exception of like Riverdale, Maryland, where they're all in one apartment complex. People don't realize there's others around them because they're not necessarily in a WhatsApp group or they're not following something. And some people think they're alone and they're going through the same experience, or it's just them. And these events, which are very time consuming for me and quite costly, to be honest, these events serve a lot of purposes. And I think that's one of the useful purposes of the events is that it brings South Africans together, a chance to interact and also, to get some feedback from me and also a chance for me to meet them, which is lovely. So I'm going to turn the floor over to you for some final comments. We've got Cyril coming up at the top of the hour. He's going to be talking about immigration in South Africa, illegal immigration. So we're going to wrap up here shortly, but I want to give you a chance. We got about 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes if we need to. If you'd like to give some thoughts to people about the process, about the experience of coming over here. But before we get to that, I want to ask you, having come over, the experience you're going through now, your family being here, do you have any regrets at all about considering applying for the program and then following through in it?
Actually, I don't have any regrets. I'm glad we did it. And like I said, back in 2022, we actually applied for work in the UK. So we wanted to leave South Africa for a long time because we saw the things happening and things deteriorating in the country, the economy and stuff like that. So we don't have any regrets.
All right. So let's shift now to your final comments of the experience, advice, recommendations for people. I'm sure that patience are probably one of the things you recommend, although it's not easy. I know people always say, oh, it's easy for you. You're in America. Yeah, but it wasn't easy. He had to wait 9 months. So what are your thoughts, your advice for people? Any comments in closing about the experience and how people should approach it?
When my advice is when people apply, you should have patience. Patience is key. I saw at the interview sites the amount of people that they interview every single day. So the process is definitely moving. Just not at a pace that you want, but it's definitely moving. So have patience. When you come this side, it's like me and Jack talked last night. Expect the worst, and when you receive more than what you expected, it's a positive. So expect the worst this side. Don't expect everything to be received on a golden platter or stuff like that. Be proactive, go out, try to do some things by yourself. And yes, just come with a positive attitude, because when you come with a positive attitude, things will be positive as well.
Well, I think that's some pretty good advice, and I hope that people take it to heart. When people want something, they don't always listen to the good advice. I think that's some very strong advice. It sounds like things are going well for you, but I know that it's not going well for everybody in Cleveland. There are some people facing some challenges. I saw a note from Jared earlier who said he knows people who are facing eviction. I don't know if he's talking about refugees or they're just other people in Cleveland. But the thing about America is that anybody can make it here, but you have to apply yourself. It's not a free ride.
Yes, and if people are struggling, they should try and come into contact with the other refugees. Maybe we can make a plan for them or see where we can assist them, because we hear about a lot of incidents that happened in the past, but it wasn't brought under our attention. So we didn't even know. So how can we assist or try and help if no one comes and asks for help? Don't be too proud to ask for help.
I think that what you've just said there is actually a very important point, is that some people, so for instance, the people in Montana and the 59ers that came over last year who told people they want to go to Montana, and for some reason USCIS and ORR foolishly acceded to the request and put them in the middle of nowhere in Montana, nowhere near a case officer, and they were very reticent to ask for help, and they let themselves get in a bind, and then instead of asking for help, they complained about it and blamed other people for their mess, so to speak. Though they didn't blame other people. Other people took their situation and blamed the U.S. government for it, but it wasn't the U.S. government's fault. In fact, that family was given an offer to move to Wyoming, just a few hours away from there, with free accommodation for 6 months and a bucky at their disposal for 6 months, and they chose not to because they were misled and told that they would lose their benefits. Well, you don't lose entitlements. Benefits and entitlements are two different things. And being an hour and a half away from your case officer, you're not getting any benefits anyway, because they're not there to give you advice and help you and set things up for you. So you'll still get all the other things. Anyway, the point of the story is that it's best to be informed. And one way to be informed is to network with other people and hear their experiences. Every experience is different, but some of the things are applicable across the board. So with that, Wimpie, I want to thank you. Any last comments before we wrap up?
No, just want to tell everybody on the group, on the feed as well, thank you for watching. I know a lot of people in Cleveland, they are watching and they are cheering, and I know they said I should greet them by their names, but unfortunately that's not going to happen.
Someone's asking a very bizarre question here. Razor Furry Meaty says, do you think the program will kick back up after the cap has been raised? What are you talking about, Razor? The cap was raised. The cap is now additional 10,000 South Africans this year. Only 6,666 or thereabouts have come over, or whatever it is. It's this year plus the 300 from last year, we're at 7,000 refugees. And this year there are 17,000 refugees who can come over. We have 4 months left to kick up. In order to achieve that 17,000, they're going to have to bring 2,500 refugees per month over in the last 4 months of this fiscal year. We've never had more than 1,500 back in April. So that's an odd question. Maybe you're not aware of where the situation is. The cap was raised, and the cap will be reannounced again in August or September. So I just think that you're a little behind there. You should do yourself a favor and watch my videos. I released a video Friday night, Saturday morning on exactly this issue about how many people have come over, where the cap is, what the top states, the destinations people are going to. All right. So with that, Wimpie, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. And to all the folks up in Cleveland, I send my greetings and love, and I hope that everyone has a chance to succeed. They're doing well. And, it was such a warm welcome coming to Cleveland. We may have to do it again sometime, but not in the near future. I got bills to pay.
No, it's fine. We can do something maybe next year again in the winter.
Yeah, it was. To be fair, it was wintertime and it was a little brisk up there, but it got a little bit warmer around that barbecue picnic stand. It was a little bit better. But when we first arrived, that wind off the lake was brutal.
Yes, it was brutal, but luckily it wasn't January temperatures when we had minus 22 degrees Celsius. That was the worst temperature that we experienced in our lives.
Well, welcome to America.
Thank you.
All right, with that, Wimpie, thank you and greetings to the family. I'll let you drop off and I'm going to close off because we're going to go to Cyril Ramaphosa here in about 15 minutes.
Okay, thank you, Colonel. Bye, everyone.
All right, folks, that's Wimpie Koen, who is in Cleveland. He was my champion helping set up the meet and greet, which went off epically. Thanks to Zane and Wimpie and all the others who helped out there. Really do appreciate it. They did a fantastic job. I don't know if he is able to get out. Let me see. He's still trying to get out. Let me help him out here. There you go. All right, so it's just me now in the chat. So that's going to wrap it up for this stream. Please stick around. You're going to be automatically redirected to Cyril Ramaphosa coming up in just a few minutes, okay? So we'll be there, and we'll hear what he has to say about illegal immigration into South Africa. And that's going to do it for today. Thanks to Wimpie. Be sure to hit the like button, leave a comment behind if you'd like. And thank you. If you're not a subscriber, why don't you become one? It's free. You get this free information, background. It doesn't cost you anything but a moment of your time, and that's going to do it. To all the folks in Cleveland who are watching, thank you for watching. Please keep watching my program. Anyway, so thank you all so much. That's going to do it. And we'll see you here in just a matter of moments on the next stream. It'll start probably within a minute or two after this one ending. Cheers, everybody, and thanks, Wimpie.